2020. I'm delighted we've got Nicholas with us here today from Hub Drive. So we were, as you know, work right alongside the vendor of this product. But I've asked Nick to be on the call with us, and he's actually he's been through your requirements. We have no issue with any of your requirements at all. One or two clarification points, but no challenges. Nothing, no showstoppers. Basically, is what I think we're saying here. But what I'm going to do now is, if you're happy, I'm going to pass over to Nicholas and let him present. We'll switch off our cameras now so you can concentrate on what Nicholas is going to show you. Clearly, any questions, please just dive in. We're here. This time is your time. So that's where we are. Andrew, delighted to meet you. I'm not sure. Were you there at that meeting before?
No, I wasn't.
No, I don't recognise. No.
A super quick context setting thing.
Yeah.
So I'm on the grad scheme, the fast stream, right? Which means that I have 2 placements essentially during the 3 years. So I'm coming up to my 18-month completion, which means I was leading on this piece of work pre-COVID and then picked up sort of a little bit but a little bit towards the end of last year. And so I'm now handing it sort of over to Andrew and Tracy because I will be moving to a new department. So sort of they'll be the best people to contact with it going forward because they're holding it now.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. What I suggest we do is we let Nicholas go through and pick up some of the elements we spotted and talk through, and then perhaps we can come back to the practicalities about what is the status of the project, where it's going, timescales, what we need, whatever else you need from us, and so on. We'll perhaps pick that up after Nicholas has done his piece. Is right with you, Andrew, as well? Comfortable with that? Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Nicholas from Hub Drive, the vendor, and over to you, sir. Stage is yours. You're muted, Nicholas.
Okay, so this is unfair. I have a controller here on my headset that lets me unmute, but this sometimes Teams messes up. Either way, thank you guys so much for joining today's session for our interactive live meeting around the talent piece. I will share my screen. I have a quick PowerPoint because it has been a minute since we last time we spoke. I believe Michael was the account manager from Hub Drive involved. So I will be taking it from here. Once again, what we're looking at is HR4 Dynamics. Today we're only looking at a piece of the whole solution. But with that being said, it is a complete HR and it's a mature HR solution. So it can handle the whole employee life cycle. Okay. Real quick, I'm Nick. I'm the account manager here at Hub Drive. I will be helping you guys along with our partners, the UK Cloud 2020, with this evaluation, okay, of our software for your organization. For me, I didn't meet you two last time, so it'd be great if you could just take a moment to introduce yourself. For me, I always like to know where you guys are in the organization, and what are you doing. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick.
Do you want to go first, Dina?
Yeah,
Ladies
okay.
first.
So I'm Dina. I'm going to apologise first because my neighbours are doing some really loud renovation, and it sounds like it's in my bedroom at points. So we'll work through it. So yeah, I currently sit within the capability and learning team departmentally. So I think it's called departmental capability and learning now. We've just sort of gone through some major expansion. So it was a team of about 10 people, and it's now up to 35. And as I said, I have about 2 weeks left in role before I go off to a new role, which is why I wanted to sort of get this in as a sort of a proper handover so that everybody can see the products that we've looked at and what's been talked about beforehand.
Well, thank you for doing that. It's good to have that smooth transition, even when you're going to your next role, and you're handing it over. So thank you. Nice to meet you too.
My name's Andrew Crichton. I work with Tracy Humphreys, taking over the work that Dina's started. Sitting in the same team, looking at capability across the department, across DWP. Specifically, what we're looking at is in-role skills for people across the department. So primarily to understand where the skills gaps are, but also to look at kind of future planning for workforce redeployment as well, potentially. And that's come about because of the the COVID situation and having to redeploy people quite quickly and understanding what their what their capabilities are.
Yeah, we're going to definitely be focusing on that. One quick question I had from you. I know you guys are moving away from a system. Is that system still on, or are you guys working through spreadsheets? How are you managing that today, real quick?
So system's been off since September. We
Oh.
work with IBM. It was skills manager, I think, with IBM, and that was used in a few different areas of the department, plus then a mix of spreadsheets and just like verbal one-to-ones and all sorts across the department. So because it's a massive department. Before COVID, we were at 80,000, and since then we've done massive recruitment as well. So we're now at about 100,000, I think, right, Andrew? So because that is quite hard to get that sort of wider picture, which is now what we're tasked with being able to get, is this wider picture across the department cohesively, what is happening in terms of skills that we have across the department. Since September, we've not had anything in place. I think there's only one profession, one area that has a product in place, but that's, again, it's a weird makeup because it's a cross-government profession almost. So it's sort of, while in DWP, external to DWP in a way. But other than that, there is nothing going on the skills front because everyone's been so busy with the with COVID.
You know, I had a call this morning, and I have to take their award back. They had 5,000 employees, and they're working on Excel. You guys just one-upped them.
Dino, just being slightly. I remember when we spoke before, we knew about the September deadline, and there's issue around the data. Have you managed to get that data extracted?
Yeah, so the way that we decided to do it was because IBM basically refused to play ball with us or do any of the data extraction. So the way we decided to do it was we sort of told all of the areas that were currently using it, look, if you would like to have the data, then this is how you export it. And if you don't want to keep it, it's okay. And a lot of the areas, so that was the conversation we'd had sort of, I think, February last year. And so because of COVID, so most of the data that was on there was by September was at least 6 months out of date, if not more, in quite a few spaces. So quite a lot of the areas thought, you know what, actually there's no point in keeping it because everything has changed drastically. So they were quite happy. So yeah, there's not going to be a data transfer issue this time.
That almost is it's really good in a way. Obviously, real shame in a massive way as well. But it's good to know anyway. Thanks for that, Dina. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'm getting just a quick summary. It looks like you guys are trying to get rid of some of those IT islands that may be happening, managing through Excel. Oversight, transparency with skill management, streamlining the processes. Those are the areas you're really looking right now to improve. Would you agree? In the skill management? Okay, good. I just wanted to get a little bit of more background before we moved a little bit further on this. So thank you for that. What we're looking at here, once again, is a holistic HR management solution. Like this does recruiting, staff administration, whatever. It has quite a bit of different modules. Today, we're going to be definitely looking at, skill management, right? That's the biggest area. So you can use this modularly. And then if you decide to open up down the road, you already know you have the system in place to do so, okay? With our solution, just for a reminder of people who weren't on the first demonstration, we are positioned on the Microsoft platform, so we can connect to other Microsoft tools, Office, or now it's called Microsoft 365, and Microsoft ERPs, okay? Inside our solution, the beauty of our solution is that it's not an empty one where you have to define everything. We have HR best practices built into the system. So if you need to, you can leverage our knowledge that we have, okay? So these best practices have been developed from past customers for our future customers. Inside, what we also do here at HubDrive is an evaluation assistance. Okay, Nick, that sounds great, but you're probably asking yourself, what makes you truly different? Definitely number one is integration. This one, I would actually look at your this IT island. We use this in regards to the other departments. From what you just told me, this is kind of how the HR department is right now. You have Excel over here, maybe some Word documents. You're trying to piece everything together, and it's probably driving you nuts. So with us today, with integration, just look at this as everything's in one system, okay? Also, our new approach. however users are comfortable in working in our solution. If they want to work with browser, Outlook, Teams is a big one. Downloading the Microsoft apps to their mobile phone, they can continue working on the go. The other area that I personally like to is the Windows password. So, every time we have different systems, you have to log in, people are wasting time, username and login. We can use your Windows password to log you in for all your HR tasks, okay? Another big area is HR analytics, right? Boss needs the data, you need the data, ad hoc reports. This is all doable with our solution. Dashboards, you can see them in Teams. We can extract with Excel to make ad hoc reports. If you want to leverage the Excel dynamic spreadsheets, we can do that too. And if you move forward with Power BI, literally you have endless analytical capability for reporting in the HR department. The other area, and this kind of sets the stage for today as well, is that you are looking at an out-of-the-box solution. So if there are certain areas, this is what I was talking about with our HR best practices too, if there's layouts, fields that you need to change to adapt to and to configure to your current your business practices, we can do so. It's not a problem. Very flexible, and also for future, let's say you guys add another 100,000 employees down the road, the solution is definitely scalable and can adjust to that. With the workflows or those HR best practices, same thing applies here. If you got to add steps, take away steps, these business processes are all configurable, literally drag and drop elements, okay? So that sets a little bit of the background information on the solution, but what we're really looking at here today is the skill lifecycle. So I wanted to kind of go down memory lane a little bit here, and now we're going to be focusing on just the skills. Inside our solution, what we have here is a skill lifecycle. So it manages, our full solution, of course, manages the employee lifecycle, but what you're really asking is, hey, we're managing skills, and with skills comes a lifecycle. We can already start that from the recruiting area where they become an employee. I'll show you in a moment. We jump to the system, becomes an employee. We start conducting reviews with the employees, signing them up for training. They participate in the training, and then we can have that update in their personnel file. So I really want you guys to keep this image while I'm going through the solution in the back of your minds, because you don't necessarily see it when I'm clicking around. But this really illustrates what we're doing, and this is, quite frankly, what you guys are asking for, is this life cycle. All right. Any questions from you two at the moment before I jump to the system?
No,
not from me.
Okay. Is everything clear?
Yeah.
Didn't lose you. I know how everyone loves PowerPoints, especially on a Friday, right? Or even worse, possibly a Monday. Inside our solution, so I'm logged in from an HR manager perspective. I've slimmed this down to illustrate that you can use this on the full system modularly. So here we're looking at talent management, right? Just to walk you through some of the these areas around your high level requirements. When I was talking about reporting before, look, we do have some that come out of the box in regards to dashboards. We have this development dashboard, executive dashboard. We can have interactive dashboards that come out of the box. If there are additional dashboards that you would need, you're able to make them with Dynamics 365 dashboards. And if you roll up Power BI, you can get really creative with dashboards. So from a reporting perspective inside the solution, dashboards, charts, pulling out information via Excel, Power BI, it's all there. Okay. To jump now to the administrative piece. So when we do have employees here in the system, they'll all have what we refer to as a digital personnel file. Okay. I'm going to go to Paul Morrison, so demonstration, and before we jump into the personnel file, I'm going to click on his job role. So with our solution here, you can define which job profile the employee has. So let's click on their job profile. Here in the job profile area, you can set basic information for this job role. So he's a project manager. He requires these skills. You guys are able to create the skills. Let me refresh. You can define the skills based on the job role, and these are templates that you can use over and over again, so you're not always having to recreate the wheel, right? Every time you have a new employee that you want to hire, you would assign them this job profile and this also goes with the vacancies. So when they go through the application process, we are already in the application process, when they get hired, we're already evaluating them on the skills. So that's, it's the beginning point of the skill life cycle where the employee is being rated before they're even employed as an applicant. But these skill levels we'll get into in just a moment. You can attach these 2 different job roles that are in the organization. Of course, also review templates, which we'll see here momentarily as well. Going back to Paul's digital personnel file, what I would like to say about this digital personnel file is that, first off, it's more than just a file you have sitting in SharePoint or Excel. This is more than that. So of course you can here in the employee system, in the employee's digital personnel file, put all the information and have that one-stop shop for your employees' information. But it does more than that. I refer to it as a live document because as things occur and as things happen in the employee's life cycle, for example, the skill life cycle, they upskill, they've received they did another education, they participated in training, that comes here in updates in their personnel file, like we saw in that skill life cycle. Okay, so everything always ties back. You'll have that one-stop shop again for their information, but as things happen in their life cycle as well. All the performance reviews that have happened with this employee, you will have that oversight, the review details, everything in one spot. Also being able to see, their active performance reviews, how they're measuring up, right? And the other area around performance is that we have the 9 grid box. So here with this employee, we can see where he falls in the company spectrum. Paul Morrison here looks to be a pretty good employee, right? So with that being said, the employee personnel file is important for 2 reasons. You're not going to have to chase down managers to update personnel files. That happens when actions occur in this employee's life cycle here. So it stores information. You can store other documents. This really is the 360 one-stop shop for the employee data. Have you guys seen this last time so far so good with the digital personnel file?
Yeah, it makes sense for me.
Okay. Because when we move forward now, under the talent management, so talent management piece and the training piece, you'll see how these intertwine just in a moment. So with talent management, we have quite a bit here that we offer to empower the HR department to manage skills, right? So here, skills is skill management. Here, HR can define and whenever they would like, create a new skill or these active skill levels. So here we can define, hey, this is a skill. These are the required grades. This is the actual grades. We're able to put these, of course, attach them to certain job profiles. So there is quite a bit of information that you do have here. We have different views, of course, that come out of the box, employee files, supervisor files. We have all these different views that you have. And if you see a view on here, like, oh, we're kind of missing one, you can create as different views as you would like to have that oversight and that transparency on skill management here. Another area is definitely being able to identify, big area, right, is skill gaps. Here, actual skill by employees, we do it, once again, these charts, dashboards, Power BI, you're going to have all this information to be able to identify these different areas around the skill. So if there's a massive skill gap somewhere, we're able to identify that, start initiate trainings if need be. There's so many options to have out of the box and even adding more to have oversight around skill management. Okay, so far so good with the skills, because anything here, these blue links, is what HR will have the power to create, right? So if there is a new skill or one becomes obsolete, that is no longer used in job profiles, you can remove them. If you have new skills that are coming, hey, there's something new in IT that we use for employees, we can put that skill in there and assign grades and different levels along with that.
Could I just ask a question about that, Nicholas? I'm thinking about the non-professional skills, so kind of transferable skills, the levels of those, the assessment levels, are they able to be set? Because obviously with the professional qualification, it's already set out how that's graded, but with the softer skills, is it possible as an organization to set those ourselves? So I'm thinking like expert practitioner working.
Yeah, this one is business English for skills, and that's, here in the EU, right? We use it A1 to C2. But Ian, you're going to jump in there, but I'm assuming he's going to say yes with that.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly like Nicholas. Yeah, all these skills are completely definable by you. So if you've got soft skills such as the ability to communicate within an office environment, for example, whatever you might want to call that, you can set those levels yourself. Obviously, you need to find those criteria around that to be equitable. But absolutely, Andrew. Then, yeah, you define the level. So there's professional, there's technical, and soft skills, and you can define the categories of those skills as well. So it's very flexible in that respect.
Okay, thank you.
You'll see a couple more here in the reviews when we be jumping to it right now. And while I got you on we're about to transition to the reviews. How are you guys doing it today with the performance reviews? Are you sending out documents via email for them to sit down with the supervisor and send it back, since there's no system active right now?
Honestly, at the minute, from the conversations that I've been having with the different profession areas, it's for the last most of a year now, it's been very much at the back burner. DWP is sort of doing all of the universal credit and all of that. So when we look at the operational side, especially, they've been so snowed under in terms of actual work capacity that the skills assessments really have just taken a back seat. And it's only now that we're back at a point where organizationally, where we're like, okay, we've let it go for a year, but we do need to actually have something.
Yeah. Wow.
Andrew, if you know anything else, do jump in.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and that's why we're looking at it again now. It's just all of that assessment piece has just been paused since March last year.
Yeah, so, and it's kind of a good point to do it at, because no one's linked to anything now. No one's sort of bought in mentally to something, and there's sort of more freedom to be able to choose something new, and there's less of an issue with data transfer, and people aren't sort of thinking, people are at a new point now because the skills that they'll have gained in the last year haven't been captured anywhere yet, and people are keen to capture that somewhere. But yeah.
So right now you guys have just been so overwhelmed that performance and appraisals haven't been taking place.
Yes, as far as I know.
And if you go ahead.
I think there's a difference there in the work that we're doing. So kind of performance and appraisal is just an ongoing thing in the department. So that has been happening. But I think for us, looking specifically at that skills element, I think Dina's absolutely right. That's kind of not been looked at in a formal departmental way.
Yeah.
So there has been
performance and appraisal bit is slightly different in the way we do it in the department, because we've moved away from individual performance and appraisal to sort of team-based objectives and things like that. So it's much more of a holistic team-based conversation now, as opposed to being aligned to the specific skills that an individual has when looking at that.
But those go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I think, Nicholas, the situation here, I'd stand back from the performance review bit, because I think that is something the department already does. But I think the important thing around the skills here is that this is almost a blank canvas now.
Yeah.
So what the department's going to need to do is to gather that information around the skills. And the big advantage, which I think Nicholas was going to lead into, was the fact that you can broadcast from here and you can send out surveys to gather that information around. So if you want to populate this now with the skills, having defined what they are that you're looking for, you'll be able to use this platform to go out and harvest that information from the workforce. Which, of course, if you're looking at 100,000 people, it's going to take some doing, and you don't want to be doing that by individual email. So I think this is where this platform has an advantage, because it links into a platform called Customer Voice, which is very much about interactive survey forms, where you can define the questions and bring that data in, and then manipulate that data to actually populate the platform, which is going to be a great way of getting this knowledge base of your workforce up to speed.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to see as well, actually, because so obviously we've recruited like massively over the past year, and it's sort of still ongoing. So there's a lot of people who've come in that, in all honesty, may have been, you know, may have lost jobs because of COVID. So they have all these skills that we don't actually know anything about, and they've come into completely new and different roles, because of circumstance. And we need something to be able to capture all that. So it'd be really interesting to see some of that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of information is sitting at the department level, and HR almost doesn't have, I'd say, control over it at the moment, correct?
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay. What we're looking at and what Ian's talking about here is, hey, how do we get that information? So let's take a look at the different reviews and the feedbacks that we have of how to, how it's used out of the box today, the different offerings that we have, and also being able to go into some other areas. So when we do have underneath this talent management, there's two areas that we do if we're looking at getting reviews, if we need to start doing reviews. This is what we have out of the box where where you can evaluate the employees. So if you have, if you're doing these and you have annual templates, you can have as many different templates as you would like. These reviews are flexible, customizable, configurable. Yeah, any bowl that you're going to put to it, they can do it. They here as well with the annual reviews. Like when we roll these out to let's say just on an employee level, these are these soft skills that we were talking about too. Hey, how can we evaluate what has happened with this employee? If we want to do it department wide, I'm sure that's also not a problem. Conflict management, transaction, those soft skills. Can we put different ratings to them? How's, the weighting averages? You have quite a bit because with employees, you're going to take a look at, okay, what has happened? And that seems like this is your current status. Hey, we have a lot that has happened. So we can use that evaluation to assess that with those skills and also set future targets for them in the future as well. So if you do have, targets for the overall team, you could roll out this template to different departments. I'll see it in just a moment. But out of the box, when we're looking at rolling these out and setting up targets, here the supervisor can actually put in their assessment. Okay, so you can define these different grades, and this is what you were asking about before, Andrew, about, hey, we don't use 1, 2, 3 to 10 or knowing facts, never heard of, stuff like that. So you can do soft skill analysis, and then also here with the employee rating it themselves. Okay, how did I do, or how do I rate myself in this area? If we notice that there's a deficit, and this is also going to help, this is why I'm referring to the reviews, this starts driving that training demand. So here, if the supervisor notices with all these employees, I have all these employees in my department and all of them have, they got to need to work on objection handling. No one's reached that target. We can right now start putting in a training there for them. And that's what drives the training demand in our training module. We'll see in just a moment. The other review that we can help when we're looking at assessing these skills is being able to roll out the employee 360 feedback. So here, let me click on it. With annual feedbacks, employees, and this is going to work great, especially in a matrix organization, getting feedback from the employees, getting feedback from their peers, who they directly report to. And what I said matrix before is because with the peers, if you are working in a matrix organization, someone, in some people from different departments can rate themselves, rate each other if you need them to. For example, we see that all the time. If different departments, hey, we work with them, but they're not in my hierarchy, I would still like their feedback on how my employee's doing. This is another tool that you could use. Okay. So reviews, flexible templates, 360 feedbacks, and of course, since you have so many employees, we do not anticipate you doing these one by one. We have review distribution. So when we're talking about trying to get that feedback from departments, the HR department here now can roll these reviews out based on areas, based on departments, job profiles. So when this review distribution goes out, we can also take a look at and have control over. Why hasn't Ethan Carter been doing any of the reviews? Yeah, why you will be able to see as he's, if he's done any. Ethan, he's not alive, so of course he's not doing any reviews, but as they would get completed, HR has that oversight that you guys are looking for here, saying, okay, we need more oversight on the skills, performance, everything. This is what it's going to give you in regards to that. With the reviews, the feedbacks, the distribution, what's your guys' initial feedback on that?
I'm not sure whether it's probably more self-serve for us rather than being pushed out to employees. I think that's mine. I think especially with the way that we review performance, and as I said, we're looking at skills specifically. I think it would probably be more self-directed or team level directed rather than it being pushed out centrally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is just for HR to see it. I mean, the supervisors, if you have different steps in your performance process, of course, the reviews, if you have certain department reviews that are at the department level, you can do that as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be centralized, but HR, since you guys have so many employees, they could roll them out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. I think at a team level, it would probably be helpful.
The team level review.
Yeah, I think that's probably where something like that would be used for us.
Yeah, so that would be really configuring around the view template. I would say if you're going to push this out, instead of having it to one employee, you could push these out to all the different employees to get their feedback on a team assessment if you wanted to. That's just changing the different skills and the different template. Ian, am I overshooting anything here? Am I missing anything? We should be able to help them in that area.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what we can do to support Andrew there is the fact that we can set up the assessments so people, but then as a organisation, they can broadcast this through their normal channels and enable people to go on and complete their own assessment of their skills. So obviously it's an initial requirement here to get that knowledge of what the skills are within the organisation, and then also the skills gaps. So the first stage is we can use this platform to help harvest that information, and then ongoing, it may not be pushed out, but in terms of broadcasting, it can be broadcast and then enable people to come on through their phones or mobile or whatever to do a self-assessment of their skills as required, and then you better see where the interest is coming in from by the return. So I think we'll probably cover that off actually, Nicholas.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the other thing around the department level, if you guys need oversight on that, there's nothing stopping us from creating, dashboards based on each department, their skills. That's easy to do. If there's information here in the system that you need to analyze, of course, we're able to help you around those different visualizations. Okay. On the grand scheme, another area is that with potential analysis here, that 9 box, we can really see here where our employees are in the organization. So if we're going to base this off skills, potential versus performance, that 9 box grid, we can see where everyone is too. So we do have a lot of different oversights that can help you capture that information once again to focus on, okay, not only skill management, what skills do we have to develop, or who we need to develop as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Before I jump to the training, overall feedback?
No, that's really helpful. I think the difficult thing at the minute for us as a department is there's almost 2 pieces of work that we need from any sort of skills capture tool. One is sort of getting that data itself and then making sure that's ongoing and letting teams do it itself, right? And then also the fact that we do need the departmental view at somewhere to be able to see it departmentally, and COVID's just proved that massively, that that departmental view is strategically really important. But I think so for me at least, you've covered the stuff that I wanted to see. So
Yeah, if you need to see, Ian, I thought you were about to go ahead, jump in there if you need.
Yeah, I say I'm very conscious that which came out of the conversation right at the beginning, where where is your data currently, and fundamentally you don't have that baseline. So yes, I can see a real need there to as I said before, to harvest that information in, to get that baseline, then to be able to analyze it, and I think that's, in particular, that's where Power BI is going to be a massive tool for you to be able to look overview and slice and dice that data to get, say, we've got, as a department, we've got a huge gap here and a huge gap there and what have you. And then from that to start be able to design your training programs and so on. So I really can see some great initial benefits for getting that baseline and the gaps analysis done very, very quickly using this platform, and then building on from that. So then focusing down on department level, see where the gaps are. The other thing about this is, if you're, and I remember it actually came up in discussion before when we met at Caston House, was around saying, I want to put together a team with these specific skills. And of course, this platform has the ability to search across the organization to pull out the best candidates against that kind of criteria. So again, that can only happen if you've got that core data in there in the first place.
Yeah, and that again is one of the key things initially when we were looking at a skills platform and sort of going forward, is being able to find people based on skills that we need within the department, and being able to say, well, like, if workforce planning, basically, right? Strategic workforce planning for the future and stuff. And again, through COVID, we saw like mass levels of redeployment, which is why I went completely silent on all of you and everybody else who we had these demos with initially. And then suddenly it was like, oh, okay, I'm somewhere completely different now. But we had all of these redeployments, and it was a very quick sort of literally like a Google Docs form almost of what are the skills you have, but having something where we could actively search and see where the skills are would really help with that sort of redeployment, if God forbid we ever needed to do it again.
You could have really done with this about 12 months ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
Made life so much easier for you. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay.
To kind of illustrate, this is one under, of course, the reviews. But if you need to do skills by department, I mean, this chart just shows an example that we can have that oversight for you. But even to even go further in details, and what Ian was talking about, it's an excellent tool that we do have is talent searches. So not only can you look at applicants in your talent pool that you haven't hired yet, but here you can also search employees. And once again, that comes back to having that, once the information's in the system, hey, is this based off a job profile, different skills, keywords, and if you're looking for, different criteria, for an employee, let's say you have a project coming up and you want to source them for a different department. Here, the system with these talent searches can rank your employees for you. You can assign weights to the rating, and then this will pull up a report for you. So I hope that you see the value of this, okay, that you're able to sift through, because 100,000 employees, wow. If you're doing that in an Excel file, that can get really tricky, right? So what do you think about this talent search?
I think, as Dina said, I think because of what's happened with COVID, this is one of the elements that we're looking at, is how to quickly filter through 100,000 people and be really specific about what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This will definitely help in that area. Another thing is, once again, referring back to dashboards, you can have different, I know we'd use it for our recruiting one, having high potentials. You can have employees in different categories and dashboards. So once again, it's all there. When the data's in there, you just got to tell us, hey, what we need oversight on, what we can use, make simple changes for you guys to have that oversight. But yeah, it's doable once again.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, I saw you blink. Were you going to jump in there?
Yeah, well, just about to say that this side, this is how you control through the talent pool to put together key teams and groups to attack a particular problem. Also, though, in here you've effectively got departmental planning options as well. So planning the FTE count in certain areas as well. So that's another tool going forward to look at what you want in terms of recruitment. So this would be very much around bringing those teams together to meet a specific objective, possibly identifying whether, you've already prior to this, we've identified skills gaps. This is putting together teams, and then going forward, then when you start looking at more strategic planning, then this has that tool for that as well. So very much looking at, right, we need to strengthen this area, and we've got and then allocating the sign off against the number of FTEs for that type of approach. So I think we cover all those three stages in there as well.
All right. So talent management, that's some of the tools we equip the HR department with. The last area that I was going to show in today's session is, look, if you have objectives of skills and we need to upskill employees, right? We have identified, hey, there's a massive skill gap in certain departments. So those different reviews, different assessments that we can do here or adapt to your current assessment, we can drive training demand. Okay, so if this is in that review, if we need to start signing up, or actually I say if it's a supervisor notices, hey, in our department we have a massive gap, they can already start driving the training demand, and they can hear with our training module from those reviews. Okay, the way you should look at our training module is that it's a catalog to house all the different trainings that you have in the organization. So if there's not even ones like business English where we rate them on different levels, if there's soft skills, right, we want to objection handling, contract negotiation, what have you, this training module gives you that. Okay, so HR and supervisors, employees will have access, to different training calendars that have taken place, or that they've rolled out have taken place. The training calendars here in the system, so everyone sees, okay, these are the different trainings that we can offer based on our catalog too. And this will help you from an administrative position to organize those different trainings that need to occur. If there's also training events, if they're in-house, in-house or from a different provider, you're able to track the different training events. And this is, once again, all flexibility you guys need. You can define which trainings anytime you see that blue link here in the system. Different trainings, different categories, location. Do we have certain vendors? It'll help you from an administrative point manage all of the different training. And once again, when we do have certain trainings that an employee has sat in on, for example, using active training, they can, from their employee self-service, rate the different ones. So HR supervisors, you can put different people in here for these different trainings. They can, like I said, rate them, what have you, and then from there, once they complete the training, it updates in the personnel file. When we do assessments using the reviews, if we have to change it for a team assessment instead of an individual, we can have that update in the personnel file. Okay, so there's a lot of flexibility between the two modules. The biggest thing for me is for you guys can see that once again, that whole circle of the skill life cycle here is manageable in our system. I will turn it over to you guys real quick for some questions.
Yeah, super quick question for me. So we have a learning platform thing called Civil Service Learning. Mm-hmm. Is it still called that, Andrew? I'm not sure. So that's where we get all of our training from. Could this sort of, or that, I guess, I don't know which way it is technically, but dock in with that and pull through information from that?
Shall I pick up on that there, Nicholas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In principle, the answer is yes, Dina. What we need to do is do some analysis of what that interface is. Now, there's various ways we can do this. One thing I'm always very conscious of is security. So what we need to make sure, because obviously on this platform here, there's a potential of having some very personal details. So we'd want to guarantee that security. But various ways we can do it. We can do it with API to API. Because this is a Microsoft platform, then we have Power Automate flows as well. So when a new entity is created on the civil service platform, we could bring that in by seeing that as a trigger and bringing the data across. So we have various ways we can do that. And if it needs to be bi-directional as well, then we can push back as well. I'm assuming that your platform is sitting somewhere in a very secure server, probably on SQL. I'm making all this up, but I'm probably not far from the truth. And therefore, in contact with your IT department, we could confirm what that data, where that data is located, what format it's in, what the security environment is around it, and we can make those connections. In principle, yes, but we would need to do some more investigation around and build that use case around whether it's unidirectional, bi-directional, and what information you want to flow.
Yeah. Okay. And Andrew, before you come in with the question, I'm just going to say, you okay to pick up that conversation with the learning team then to find out some of those things, because I have no clue.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that, because the question you asked, Dina, was the one I was going to ask. And I think the other thing for me about that link between this platform and something else, I think for me there's probably some commercial considerations and contractual ones. I'm not sure that the suppliers for CSL what their attitude would be to.
Yeah, so it would definitely be an ongoing conversation, but Andrew, I will leave that in your hands.
Thank you.
I think you just had what they call in rugby a hospital pass there, Andrew.
Yeah.
But seriously, Andrew, if you engage in that conversation when you think it's appropriate, but there should be no reason why we can't talk to the underlying platform in CSO so that we can bring that data across. But maybe we need to decide with you first of all what it is you want to share in terms of data, and then go back to the supplier of the other platform and say, right, this is what we want to do, and then we can start the conversation. But in principle, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to share data across two platforms. So a huge caveat for me is security. Okay.
Yeah. Could it, just while we're there, before I forget, this is a very basic question, and you probably answered it last time when I wasn't here. And it's not specifically about training, but and I know that we're not talking about data transfer of existing skills records. But if we've got 100,000 employees, how are their accounts set up on here initially at the beginning?
Yeah. So what we'd look to do there, you've obviously got an HR system somewhere. Even if it's payroll, where you've got the core information around your employees. Somebody must know the first name, last name, email address, and what have you of all these employees. They will all be in your Azure Active Directory. So that's another way we can pull this data in. But if you think that you may not want all your employees as users of this platform, you may not, but if you do, so we need to look at the use case. If you do, then we can pull them straight in off the Active Directory, make them users, and then they would all be visible in here. And they will bring in what data is on Azure Active Directory. Or we look at your current HR data, and we can import that. So we can get that core platform of data within here. In terms of the HR platform, do you have an HR platform alongside this already?
We do have a HR platform, and I think one of the things that we need to consider as well is that onboarding 100,000 people in terms of our side, the comms and stuff that would need to go out with that would be quite difficult, because they all sit in different sort of professions, and they all need slightly tailored things, and they're all at different stages with where they're at in skill assessment. So what we would be looking at is sort of a phased switching on approach almost. So it would be sort of and I don't know how that would work, but batch sending names from the HR system or something, based on where they sit, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of points in there, Dina. Well, one is that is what that linking into the current HR platform might entail. So again, this may be another two unidirectional or bidirectional connection potentially, or it might be just a pull through. Phased approach, absolutely no problem at all. Obviously, the issue then is about, you're not going to get the full picture. You've got everybody in there, but that's something that, a restraint that we can understand. I think the other thing about this is about change management, and I'm sure you folks are well on side with that. But we are very conscious about change management when bringing a new platform like this. So bringing in a phased approach is good, because obviously we all learn during that first couple of approaches, and we have consultants that work with us that can support that change management approach to bring them on board. So happy with a phased approach, department by department. but we need to work very closely with you to make sure that that messaging, it brings people with us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Just because we've only got a few minutes left, this is a super random question now, in terms of communications and stuff. So something that I think we talked about IBM previously when we had the initial demos, and there was zero buy-in for it. People didn't enjoy it, but what we found was there was a small part of the department which had almost, quote unquote, rebranded it themselves, and in the communications called it Government Skills Tool, I think. Is that right, Andrew? And the buy-in for that was much greater, and it was the exact same platform, so it was still IBM hosting it. But yeah, so I guess the question is, in terms of comms like that from our side, how opposed would you be to us trying to do something like that in terms of getting that user buy-in internally?
Completely on board. I think I mentioned change management, and I know this is something that makes Wendy smile very much so, because this is very much her partnership. She is absolutely on board with the whole change management thing. There's various things we need to do here. One is we need to work with you around the whole communication piece. So this is a internal marketing issue, really. We're bringing this new in. Why we bring it in? This is about supporting you, making sure we identify your skills gaps to help the overall department find you better opportunities. I mean, it's so many positive messages that could be broadcast there, but that's your message to broadcast. That's your chance to use this as a positive message platform. So brilliant, and it's about staging those out and deciding when those messages hit different departments, if you're going to bring them in up to, in a phased approach. The other thing about that is you're going to find champions of this. In any organization, any department, there are people go, I love this, I've been waiting for this for years, why have they never done it before? Brilliant. And it's identifying those people, because they become your champions, they become your super users. They're the ones that people turn to and go, Dina, how do I do this? I've forgotten how I put in my skill. Oh, let me show you. We all know how that happens, okay? But those people are like gold dust, because if you can find them and bring them together into a user group, then they can help feed in ideas, and the whole thing starts to take life then. So you probably notice I'm a massive fan of what you're saying here, Dina.
Okay.
And it's getting that magic working makes our life so much easier. But Wendy, you've got some views on this as well, I know. So
I know, but you've elucidated them brilliantly, as usual, Ian. You're on a roll today, definitely. But I do think whatever we can do to help your people get buy-in, we're absolutely there for it. And in the end, this is a people platform. It might be technology, but we're going to be dealing with people. And that's the case anyway. In our world, we're very, very clear about that, and getting buy-in locally is really important. I think you had a specific question there about renaming, though, didn't you, Dina?
Yeah. And internally, so not in terms of on the contract or like anything externally, but in those internal comms.
I don't think there's going to be a problem with that. I can't see a problem with that. We can livery it as well. We can make it have your colours. We could have logos. It's not a completely open-ended, but we can help. And it's really interesting. It's one of the things we do with our Dynamics 365 sales apps, is we just put the colour for the company. In Hubdrive's case, it would be that green across the top and a little logo in the corner, and all of a sudden people know it's theirs. It's very simple, but yes, those things I think are very important, and we're happy to take instruction or have discussions around that with you. Definitely.
That's really helpful. Andrew, any more questions from yourself?
No, we've covered off everything that I had on my huge list.
Brilliant.
It's been a successful hour. Yeah,
it's Good Friday.
So we spent some time with Nicholas, and we went down through your list, and we've got areas, we'd ask more questions on it. It's more detail, but the next level below where we are today. But there was fundamentally nothing there that we had a challenge, nothing in there that was a showstopper. So we would be, we put our hand on heart and say, yes, we would be up for this challenge, and we could do that. we've only got a few minutes left, but can you perhaps give us some idea of where you are in the stage with this project at the moment? And we know Dina's moving on, and thank you for your support up to this point, and good luck in your next role, wherever that is. And that sounds exciting. So, Andrew, it sounds like it's over to you, sir.
Yeah, so with regards to timescales, I mean, we've just picked this work up, so we're refreshing it at the minute, literally in the last few weeks. Timescales, I'll be absolutely honest with you, we haven't put any on it yet. We're looking at, I'll be honest, it's something this year. We've got to work within the financial year as well, but we're just coming off the back of COVID operationally. That's all kind of settling down now as well, and I think that's kind of as much of a timescale as I can give at the minute. We're at such early stages. We're further on than we would have been because of all the work that Dina's done, but I think we're not at the stage yet where we can put specific or even indicative dates down. To be honest.
So I suppose really, Andrew, you need to let us know what it is we need to do to help you. So yeah, please do.
And Andrew, just gonna check, is it okay if I share your email across now, because obviously I'll be moving on, so it won't be the contact point in anymore.
That's
so I'll sort that out and share yours and Tracy's emails forward. So,
and once obviously Tracy's not on the call, so once we've got the recording of this, I can talk this through with Tracy as well. Really helpful. Thank you so much for your time, guys. It's been a great demo today, actually, so thank you very much.
Well, thanks to our colleague Nicholas and from the vendor. Any questions, please do reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to answer them.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks so much.
Good luck with the new position. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Andrew.
Bye bye.
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 Cheers.